Hello all, good evening and welcome to another session with me, Varun, on Privatic. And this is the third session in which we would be talking about data manipulation and matrices. And the agenda of this session would be to understand data manipulation and matrices through coding using the RStudio and to read a CSV file. Okay, and then I would be talking about some very frequently asked question and answers which pertain to the topic, and then we will be moving forward, right? So now let us quickly go on to our studio and let us start working with some basic data manipulation things. All right, so here the first thing that I'm doing is I'm considering two variables, one with the name 45678, sorry, one with the variables 45678 with the name A, and one is with the name B, in which I have another set of numbers. Now what I'm doing is, after I read them both, I am now using the paste function, and here I would be using a comma b, and I would be using separate with. All right, and when I do this, you can see that, or you would be seeing that I would be having 4.2 5.3, because I'm now pasting a and b, which are separated by a dot. So now let us quickly see that. So here I have executed my first line, my second line, and this is the paste. And now that the paste is up and running, you can see that it is 4.2 5.3, and things like these would be very highly useful when you're working on, let us say, things like height. So now you want to write 4 feet 2 inches and things like that, so you can work on small keywords like these. It would be very essential for you to learn things like these. Then we have sorting. So now in order to do sorting, but even before that, what is sorting? Sorting is wherein you would be able to arrange the numbers the way you want. It could be in ascending order or descending order. All right. So now I am taking a data frame within which I have a variable x with 1, 2, 3, 1, and a variable y with 7, 9, 12, whatever. Okay. Now I would be just executing this. All right. And now I have my numbers here. So now what we'll do is, let me just run this command wherein my data is being pushed into indexes, and the order is the name of the function that I'm giving. This is not the name of the function, guys. You can also save this as answer. Okay, that would make no difference. And here, in order to probably keep things clear, I would write like this, and this would be 5 6 6 7 and 8. All right, so this is what I did right now. Okay, and now I would be arranging them in order, and once I do that, I can now that the name here is changed, we'll have to ensure that this is also to be changed. So now when I do that, you can see that all these numbers are ordered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if you want to put them in reverse order, then it wouldn't go very different. All that I'd have to do is just execute this, and you can see that they are all in reverse order: 4, 3, 2, 1, and 8, 7, 6, 5. So it's pretty easy, and it's not very complex to understand either. All right, so now let's go to the next function, that is cbind. Now cbind, we'll just understand this. First, I have a vector with c1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I am taking c of 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, here this is passed in A and this is passed in B, and I'm binding them. Then, as in I would be binding A and B, and I'm pushing it into C. So now let us see what happens. There goes my first line, my second line, and now I am done with A comma B, And now when I execute the answer, I have my C here. And if you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can see the names are printed as columns. A is the name of this, and I have A here. B is the name of 5, 6, 7, 8, and I have it here. Right? And here I have 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, and 4, 8. Now let us look at the next variant of binding, that is R bind, which is row bind. So now let us just understand what has happened here. By the way, C bind is for column bind and R bind is for row bind. So here you can see that the names which got printed as columns in my answer here, you can see A and B are name of columns, while A and B here are names of my rows. So I have that, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in A, 5, 6, 7, 8 in B, and I'm using my R bind. And when I do that, I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8 arranged in a row order. So pretty easy to understand, isn't it? Now, the next very important function that might be very useful for you as you would go ahead and you would all become developers is the transpose of any function. And all these are basically 10th class concepts if you can just relate to. It could be right from the beginning. All these that we are doing, you must have seen all of these in your 10th class, but the only difference or the only change that you would be experiencing is that we are now working on a digital front. We are now working on computers, and that is making it all new. And that is why there is such a lot of buzz around this new field of science. Okay, so now I would be using my transpose, and when I do transpose, you can see that it is now again all my rows are now again converted back into columns. So it's pretty simple to understand and pretty easy to do, and all these happen with very small functions. Now here the transpose of the table is happening just because of the word T, and I'm using transpose of my C vector which we've created on the top here. And what does transpose do? It converts your rows into columns and columns into rows. So here I have my next function, which is merge. And before we look into merge, let me just clear all this so that we're not getting confused. All right, all set and done, removed. So now what I'm doing is I'm reading my data frame, all right, and I'm taking a variable letter and I'm using the function letters. Now just pause this for a second and think, if here I would be having small letters or would I be having capital letters which would be coming out in my output. I mean, if you could understand that, then I think you have understood the concept of what is a function and how do we use it. All right, and then here I'm using index and I'm giving an index of 1 to 5. Now without running the output or without going any further into execution, I would request you to think what the output could be, and then just try seeing how far you are matching yourself with the answer or the output. All right, so now let me execute this, and here goes. I have my A, which has 5 observations, and I just clicked on this. I mean, there's nothing separate that I did. Anything that you have, you can just click here, and it'll print out things here for you. So I have my H, I, J, K, L, and the index is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you're able to see, this letter happens to be the name of my column, while index happens to be the name of my other column. And index has numbers from 1 to 5, and that is the reason why I have my output with an index of 1 to 5. All right, it's pretty simple to understand, not very complex. And you can also do this if you don't want to see things like this in a separate window. You can just come here, click on capital A, hit Control Enter, and here goes your output. Both of them almost do the same thing. I'm going on to the next thing wherein I have a data frame again, and here I'm taking I'm taking alphabets from 1 to 10, and as you know, they would all be capital alphabets. And I'm using runif. So now let us see what would happen when I use runif. Now, if you don't know what runif is, then the most ideal thing that you should be doing is pause the video, go back to your help, check what runif is, hit the enter. Now, even before you start playing the video, read about it and see if you understood. I mean, if you're understanding and what is happening in the video, if they are at a parallel or not. So now here I'm using just like runif. If someone asks you what are the other options you have, you can say that you have dunif, punif, quinf, that is quinif, and runif. All right. But then talking about runif, we'll just go to that. Let's not deviate from the actual thing. So here you can see that. Okay, where did it go? Yeah, the function runif generates random deviates. All right, and if you can see here, the values are minimum 0 and maximum 1. So we would be having all the values arranged from 0 to 1. Now, why is this required? This is just to give a random variable to each and every alphabet. So now here here goes B. B has 10 observations with 2 variables, because that is what I did. I gave my first 1 to 10 alphabets, and when I do that, here I have A with 0 0.2, 0 0.19, 0 0.9. They are all very randomly generated variables. And as we all know, you can also check it out like this, and you would be having the same thing that you are seeing in the data set here, or that you're seeing in the data frame here. Now comes the most interesting part, that is, we are now trying to merge the A and B, and let us see what happens. So here when I merge A and B, I have only Hij. Now why is that? That is because these are the only elements that are that are different as or that. Okay, so now let us just open A. A has Hij, okay, and B has Hij too. So only the ones which are in common are merged, as you are able to see. But then if you want to kind of merge all of them, then you would be using all equal to true, which is a feature in merge. Now, how do we know that all is equal to true is a feature, or if it exists or if it does not exist? In order to do that, I would suggest you go to your help, type in merge, and check and see it is used to merge two data frames. And I think that's exactly what we're doing here. I'm merging two data frames. This is my first and this is my second. Correct? So I've merged both of my data frames, and here it goes. Okay, and here let me just scroll things for you. You can go into arguments and you can check. So when you give all equal to, so all here is a logical, and it is either true or false. And when you give a true, you see that it will it will give you all logical vectors, and it will basically start working as an outer join. So now I do this merge all equal to true, and now you would see that you have all the alphabets available right from A to Hij and all of them. All right, so this is how they both vary from each other, and this is how they kind of work. Now the next thing that I'm doing is I've given merge, and I've said x is equal to true. So now when I say that, it basically we do not okay, so now because the name of the column is A and B, the first thing that I want you to understand is we don't write them as write all all of A is equal to true. We only specify it with all x is equal to true or all y is equal to true. So here, if you want to merge the first table with the second, then you would be doing merge a comma b and all x is equal to true. But then if it is exactly the vice versa, then we are going the other way round. then we give y is equal to true, and you would see that both of them work exactly the way like how we have answers onto the top. All right, then we have the next important thing. Okay, now let me just close these data frames here. Okay, the next thing that I have is splitting. Okay, that is how to split a variable or how to split a set of characters. All right, and here I've already given the command. I mean, this is the thing that would be getting split. Okay, and I'm giving it a split of character spacing 0. And now let me see what happens. There it goes. I have my answer. Now, if you change this to 1 and try things again, you would be seeing that it is now a bit different. All right. So you would just have to change things there, and you would just have to try for different values. And the more you try, the more you would understand as to how things are varying. All right. The next thing that you have to do is now we are moving on to matrices. Now here I have a matrix with C1 to 3. I mean, these are the numbers that I have given. I'm using a combined statement, and here I have n row with 3 and columns equal to 3. So now let us see what would happen. I'm stating that I want a matrix, and when I hit on M, which is my output, and here it goes. Bingo. I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 in all my rows and all my columns. Right? Pretty easy to understand, isn't it? So guys, what I would want you to do, or what I would request you to do, is try each of them individually right from the beginning. And once you're done trying them, the next thing that I would want you to do is actually pause the video and try replicating them on your system. Do not copy them, rather try changing values and see that how they would differ and how your output would vary with different variables. Try giving in unequal number of entries here and there, and see if you could come up with some difference. That is how you research, and that is how you would come up to new things. If you're just trying to copy, you would only know what is told by me. But if you're trying to work on your own, if you're trying to work it out a bit different, then you would definitely notice that your practice is giving you a greater understanding of the same thing. All right, so now let us just pick up from where we left. All right, this is not a very big one, but yeah, let us just go through. Let me just delete it all so that you're not confused. Done that. So we've already seen this. I would be having a matrix of 1 2 3 and 1 2 3. All right, now if I want to add two matrices, it's as simple. So now you can see that 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6. We must all have done this in our 10th class only. And what is that? That is addition of two matrices. Okay, now here this is a new thing that we would be looking at. Here I am just trying to arrange a sequence of numbers that is from minus 98 to 100, and each of the number would be separated by 2. Okay, and it should be having 10 rows and 5 columns. So now when I execute this, you would be seeing that I have a 1 to 10 and 1 to 5 kind of a matrix created. Now let me hit on M, and here it goes. If this is a bit confusing, you can check things here. So I have 1 to 10 rows, and I have 1 2 3 4 5, exactly 5 columns. So bingo, there goes my answer. So here you can see the range is minus 38 to minus 20, the range is minus 50 to minus 40, and this is how you would be understanding things. All right, now here there's one thing that I would want you to understand, that is when you're working on this. Okay, you cannot give, okay, now let me just try minus 99 to 100 and we'll see what I would be having. Here it goes. Okay, so you can, I just want you to try for different set of numbers and see if you would be able to come up with an answer. And if yes, then how is your answer varying, and what are the different things you can do. And see, I mean, I'm just trying on. And if in case you go wrong, then it would give you an answer like this. Okay, and this answer is something that you have to understand. And how would you understand this? The more you try, the more you would be able to understand. All right, guys, so this is what it is. So now let us go to the next part, or the next topic. And the next topic that we would be discussing is, okay, let me just close these. Done that. Okay, and also let me just delete everything that we've seen till now. So all what we've seen till now happens to be basic math. All right. Now we would be looking at something in excess. We would be looking at, we would be going one step further, and we would be now going on to reading a data set. But before we go on to read a data set, what is a data set? A data set is basically any document that carries information. Now, there is no hard and fast rule that your data set should be of, you know, this format only. We have CSV files, we have TSV files, we have TXT files, we have, and also data set keeps varying with different languages you use. For example, you have different data formats for different languages, and all these languages or whatever formats we talked about, you have JSON format, you have .html format, .txt, .doc, uh, dot TSV, .csv, .jpg. Even JPG is also a data format if you're reading images. So yeah, so you have a lot, and there is no restriction or no foundation to it. In this specific video, let us just take a look at one of the data sets that we would be using. So the name of this data set is customer churn, and in this data set, I'm basically having n number of columns. All right, and basically this is one column, second column, third column is senior citizen, fourth column is my partner. And you can just consider this to be the data set of any phone company, for example Airtel or Idea or Reliance. I mean, you can just, I leave it to your own visualization. By the way, this is not stolen, or this is not a data set that I have got from any company. This is a data set that is widely available in many internet sites, and this is one of the data set that I've used. And as we keep going further, we'll be working on different kinds of data sets on different problems. This is just the first to begin with. All right, and then I have tenure, I have phone service, I have multiple lines, internet service, online backup, device protection, technical support. Is there streaming or not? What is the kind of streaming? Contract kind? Is it paperless or not? What is the payment method? Monthly charges, total charges, and the churn out. So if you can see, it's up to you, and PQRS to UVWXYZ. So we have 26 alphabets, and we are just missing off X, Y, and Z. So I can say that this is almost 23 column data set. And here I have some which are continuous. What is continuous? When you mostly have numbers, it is said to be a continuous uh, column. But then if I have numbers from, if I have numbers like 0 and 1, then is it called continuous? No. In order to call it continuous, you need to ensure that the mean of the, or the mean, or the numbers are not, the mean should make some sense. You cannot have 1 2 3 4 5 and the mean to be 2 3 or something like that. The mean has to make some sense. That is when we call it a set of continuous numbers. So here I have tenure column, which is a continuous number. I have monthly charges, which is another set of continuous numbers. So yeah, here I have some continuous numbers. Then I have some categorical, like yes, no, all these columns are categorical. And then I have some distinct column, like which here if you can see, I have customer ID. This customer ID, every ID is distinct from each other. right? So and then I have again, this would also be a categorical column, female, male. So now this is the data set that I would be reading, or that I would be working on. And in order to do that, I would be using this. Okay, so it says no such. Okay, so let us see where it's going wrong. In order to see that, I would be going into my desktop. I have something called as I have this folder called as, data sets, wherein I save all my data sets. So here, this is my customer churn. I'll be looking at the properties. Guys, this would also be the way how you would be reading your data set. Now you would be copying this. Okay, let me close it and let me minimize this for now. And you would be typing in read.csv, and you would be pasting it here, and you would be replacing all the forward slash with the backward. All right, and you would have to give the name, which is customer churn.csv, which happens to be the name of my file, and it is in CSV format. All right, as you are able to see, comma separated value file, CSV, comma separated value. So it is, so it now seems to be fine. So now I'll hit a control enter, and yes, bingo, here it goes. I'm able to read my data set. So as you all are able to see, I have 7,000 observations in this, which is 7,000 rows, and I have 21 columns. This is what it means. Okay, now I would want to see my data set is in which class. Okay, and in order to do that, I would be using class. All right, so I would be using class. Okay, so now why am I using customer churn? Because if you can see, my data is saved into customer underscore churn. All right, so I'm closing this, and if I want to see the class, see, it is in a data frame format. All right, now I would want to see the class of a column, and in order to do that, I would be using customer churn dollar tenure. Now you can just hit, so here the job of the dollar is to basically bring out the columns that are available within the data frame in your data set. So here what I am doing is I would just do this, and now when I hit on, okay, when I hit on dollar, it would give me all the columns that are available, and you can just double click on any of them and you would have the name printed there. Now let us also check for categorical columns, like gender is one of the categorical column, and if it is categorical, we would have gender. Okay, then I have my internet service, and even internet service is a factor, because if we can go on to my data set and we check internet service, here it is, DSL optical fiber. And even gender also has columns like, sorry, values like male and female, which is categorical, right? So it's pretty simple to understand. All right. So now let us again go back to this. And now we would be accessing the columns within it. All right. So customer churn. So now if I want to separate a column, okay, that is, when I say separate a column, I'm not removing it from my data set. I am just, kind of extracting it so that I can see it separately, or I can, kind of just check it out separately. So now in order to do that, I'm using customer churn dollar device protection, and I'm saving it in my dev. Alright, I'm giving it a name of dev. You can give whatever name you want. For example, I would save it as dev pro. Okay, but then when I do that, I'll have to enter the same name here also. So control C, Control V, here it goes. So now I go here, and here when I do, I'm sure you can see that you have the column that is device protection. Okay, now if you would want to cross check, here is the data set, and here it goes, device protection. All right, and you can cross check. Here I have no, yes, no, yes. My first four values I have no, yes, no, yes. Okay, so these are the things that I have, separated. Things as in this is the column that I have separated. Now let's go back, and here what I'm doing is, so whenever you give a square bracket and you are trying to give an arrangement, generally it goes something like this. If this is your bracket, then you give it, the arrangement is row, comma, column. All right. Now here I'm giving, when I don't give anything, it means all the rows would be coming in from my second column, and I'm saving it in gender. Okay. Here, you can also give the name gender, and when you do it, this has to be gender too. So now I'm going in and I'm hitting this, and when I say I would want to view my gender, here goes my gender file, or here goes my gender, not file, here goes my gender column. That's now coming. And if you want all the rows, now let us say you want, some randomly selected columns. Okay, now it could be anything. Let us say I then want my 12th column. I would, save this in multiple columns. And when I hit enter and I say view, here it goes. I have gender, phone service, and device protection. Okay, when here you can see that when we have only one column, the name of the column is not necessarily printed. But then when you have multiple columns, you would be having the name of the column that would be coming too. All right, so that is something that happens. And this is for randomly selected columns, like you want three different columns. Now let us say you want a sequence of columns, or you want a columns from 3 to 7, or let us say 1 to 5. Then how would you do, how would it vary? So here you can see, let us just go back to the data set before we call it anything. What is my third? Senior citizen, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I should be having senior citizen to phone service. Now let us see if that's exactly what we have. And bingo, that's exactly what I have, senior citizen to phone service. Now this is exactly how you should also try. Now if you want a different set of columns, you can just hit a control V and paste it here, and you can just check for probably, let's say, 2 to 20, and I hit it, and here it goes. I have it all right. So that is how it goes. All right, so this is my second column, and that is my 20th column, right? Then I have customer churn, which is second row. Okay, all the while we were talking about columns. Now let us talk about the row. So I have my second row, and as we know, this arrangement is row, comma, column. All right, and when you do this, I have my second row. Now let us just cross check, and here it goes. This is my first row, and this is my second row. So it has 5575 GNV, 5575 GNV. So seems to be perfectly come up. Okay, now here I am going with a different arrangement, that is 50th to 60th row, and second and third column only. And when I do that, see, my row number is 50 and it's come up to 60 only from my second and third row, that is gender and senior citizen, right? I hope this is also understood. Then we have the next one, that is, now this is not very complex to understand, but guys, please try to focus here. I'm getting rows from 50 to 60 and 2000 to 3000. All right. And then I am calling my columns, which is second and third. And I'm saving it in my variable, which is complex mix. Okay. And now let us just hit an enter, and I hit on view, and here it goes. So I have my output, and you can see the columns are general and senior citizen, while the rows after 60 are is going into, after 60 I have my rows which are moving on to 2000. All right. So this is how we work on rows and columns. All right. So guys, I really hope you've learned, you've learned something, and you've been able to understand the things as we've, discussed. We've understood what is data manipulation, we've seen the matrices, and we have seen how to read a CSV file. If you have any queries, please feel to use the comment section below, or please write to us and we will revert back to you at the earliest with the best of the solution. And also, I would recommend that you please try them home, and then you ask for any queries if you have. And you can write to us at hello@privatech.com, or feel free to call us on 8147111254, and we will be more than glad to help you. Thank you very much for being patient. This is me, Varun Rao, your trainer, logging out. I'll see you out again in the fourth session with the upcoming topic.